So I'm sure many of you have already heard this story and probably want to hear my thoughts on it. And if you haven't, I'll fill you in. So I think yesterday, basically what happened was Josh Gad on Jimmy Kimmel Live interviewed Daisy Ridley, and some very interesting revelations came out from Daisy Ridley about what the plans were for the sequel trilogy, originally going all the way back to The Force Awakens. And when The Force Awakens first came out, J.J. Abrams wrote and directed that film along with Michael Arndt and, of course, Lawrence Kasdan. And the story was supposed to be ambiguous about who Rey was supposed to be. It was supposed to be a secret, with the idea being that in episodes 8 and 9, the future filmmakers would eventually come up with who it was supposed to be and sort of, guide the story along. Because what happened was Kathy Kennedy wanted each filmmaker or each writer to kind of have their own creative control. And so I remember when Force Awakens first came out, the speculation, and I know I certainly did videos about this, was, who is Rey's parentage? What is her bloodline? Who is she? And the two main theories that a lot of people were talking about, including myself, was she was either Luke Skywalker's daughter who had her memory erased after or before Force Awakens, or she was the granddaughter of Obi-Wan Kenobi, with the idea being that Obi-Wan had a secret child, and then she would end up being the granddaughter. She couldn't be the daughter of Obi-Wan because Obi-Wan died way before she was born, but she could have been the granddaughter. And so Daisy Ridley revealed that the original plan, according to what JJ told her, during The Force Awakens, was that there was talk that she would be a Kenobi, aka Ben Kenobi's granddaughter. With that idea sort of being like this multi-generational family feud between the Skywalkers and the Kenobis, it wound up being changed, of course, to it being a multi-generational family feud between the Skywalkers and the Palpatines. But the idea, of course, being that, Obi-Wan and Anakin were rivals in the prequels. Of course, they were friends first. And in the sequel trilogy, the Kenobis and the Skywalkers, aka Kylo Ren and Rey, would end up being rivals at first, with them eventually maybe coming together in episode 9. Of course, that was not what she said. I'm adding that in there. But she did say that that was the idea. Now, it makes a lot of sense for it to be Obi-Wan Kenobi. In fact, it makes more sense that she's a Kenobi as opposed to her being a Palpatine, because, first of all, her accent. Obviously, the Great Britain does not exist in the universe of Star Wars, but, they had a very similar accent. That could have been sort of a patronage thing. It would have made sense within the context of that universe. Also, the whole connection with her being on Jakku, and, it's kind of like reminiscent of Palpatine, of Tatooine. That all makes perfect sense. In fact, I feel like with what they told us in Clone Wars with Obi-Wan's almost relationship, if you can call it that, the idea of Obi-Wan having a secret love child and sort of being understanding of what Anakin and Padme's struggle was, hiding their relationship from the Republic, to me makes tremendous amount of sense, and could have tied the sequel trilogy through the story threads of the original trilogy, going all the way back to the prequel trilogy. But it wound up being changed. Now, again, we heard from, I think it was Abrams and Kathy Kennedy, we always wanted to bring in Palpatine. BS. They lied. That's a lie right there. We knew, if you're a smart fan and you study this, you knew that was BS. They were not going to bring in Palpatine originally. When Rian Johnson killed off Snoke in the second film and sort of made Kylo Ren the lead villain, they had to shift directions for the third film because of the backlash it got, and they brought back Palpatine for yet another nostalgia dick trickle. That's pretty much what I call it, a nostalgia dick trickle. That's what it was. And even Ian McDiarmid himself said, oh yeah, I got a call just a few months ago or whatever, when he was doing interviews for Rise of Skywalker. So if they were always going to bring in Palpatine, why didn't he know about it? And I know that sometimes the studios don't tell the actors everything, because even Daisy herself wasn't sure. But Daisy herself says in the interview that, first it was supposed to be Kenobi. Then it became that she was a nobody, which is what kind of Rian Johnson's idea was. That, okay, we're going to make Rey a nobody. And the story being that nobody is nobody, which is what Colin Trevorrow's episode 9 really illustrated effectively. Colin Trevorrow's episode 9 was significantly better than Rise of Skywalker as far as from a script perspective, because he was able to tie in stuff from the last two films, episode 7 and 8, and have them make sense and also be powerful. I'm not saying that he fixed Last Jedi, because at the end of the day, what they did to Skywalker, to Luke Skywalker in that film, ruined the sequel trilogy for me, because Luke is my favorite character, and I'm not going to get into it again. You've heard me talk about this a million times. But the fact that he did the best he could to make it work, I think that Duel of the Fates, Colin Trevorrow's original script, was significantly a better closing to this trilogy than the Rise of Skywalker. But then after Rey Nobody, she became Palpatine. Then even on the set of Rise of Skywalker, they were like, well, we're not really sure. Then it became Palpatine again. So even Daisy and Abrams, Daisy discusses that Abrams did not even know if he was really 100% committed to making her a Palpatine, which tells me that they were changing their minds on things as they were shooting the movie. They were literally changing what was going to be said, the dialogue, the story. They probably had the base story and the fights and everything kind of clamped down, but whether or not she actually was Palpatine's granddaughter was up in the air, it looks like, at least in the early days of shooting. And it just goes to show, y'all, how much of a complete convoluted mess the sequel trilogy was, that once again there's evidence that there was no direction. John Boyega's interview from last week where he talked about how, they built up this Finn character and did nothing with him, like, you can sense it. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out that they had no vision, they had no plan for this. And every time they come out there and tell us that we had a plan, it's a lie. It is a lie. They had no plan. Or at least if they had a plan, which was Abrams' probably original plan, it wasn't a plan that was set in stone. They didn't tell Rian Johnson, okay, listen, Rey's going to be a Kenobi. You can reveal it in your movie if you want to. You can wait till episode 9, but she's a Kenobi. Because had they told him that, the Last Jedi would have probably been written totally different. There probably would have been more clues. It would have been done differently because Rian Johnson likes to do the whole mystery thing. He likes to do it, not as much as Abrams, but he does like to do it. So I feel like it would have been a different story had they told Rian Johnson, listen, you can do whatever you want with the story, but don't kill off Snoke because we need him for episode 9, and don't kill off, Rey or Kylo. And I think they did tell him, don't kill off Rey and Kylo. Obviously, they are the two main leads. But he did what he wanted to do. Whatever. Some people liked it, some people didn't. But this interview with Ridley just proves, again, they had no direction. So when they tell us they did, it's a lie. Now, again, the problem is there's lies everywhere. Because like I've been talking about for the past couple of months, there's lots of lies on YouTube. This whole George Lucas cut and, Lucas wants to come back and take over for Kennedy. That's all BS. I've talked about that multiple times on this channel. That's complete nonsense, made up story. But this right here just tells us straight up that whenever they say we always wanted to bring Palpatine back, that's not true. You know that Supreme Leader Snoke was supposed to be the Palpatine, quote unquote, of this trilogy. And Daisy Ridley pretty much confirms, like, yeah, we don't even know what the hell was going on. So, anyways, that's it. It's kind of annoying that these filmmakers kept changing their minds. What do you think in the comments? I would have preferred Rey Kenobi. Sorry, Rey Palpatine was so shoehorned in, I didn't like it. What do you think? Let me know. We'll talk soon.